Good afternoon, AI fans, and welcome back to fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. We're here coming to the close of day 3 of our 3 days of live broadcast from Google Cloud Next. My name is Savannah Peterson, bringing you all the fun stories from the floor with John Furrier this week, as well as Dave Vellante. John, how's it been for you? How would you rate this conference?
I give it definitely a solid A, not an A+, because I'd like to see more use cases, but overall, solid A, because everyone's trying to navigate the future, and AI's here, but all the AI infrastructure, as you know, has been getting advanced very fast. That's going to accelerate more action all over the stack, so I love the full stack. Again, navigating the future, that's the theme of this segment, which is super cool because data's involved.
Yes, hey, data's involved, and if we're going to talk about AI, we're definitely talking about data. Without further ado, Gaurav and Stephen, thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you gentlemen. Love that you're bringing the energy day 3. You mentioned you thought the show was beautiful this week. That's an awesome thing to be able to say. We've talked about AI a lot on the news desk, really over the last 2 years, to be honest, but particularly at this show. But one thing that we haven't necessarily unpacked is why. Why AI? What are some of the factors that go into making this essential for business? And Gaurav, I'll start with you.
Sure. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a privilege. To answer to your question, how AI and business are coupled together, let me just first divide them into 2 parts. Let me talk about business first. Now, if you look at what is critical for business, now the 3 key levers that are very, very critical for businesses, first is the revenue. So what is your impact on the top line? The second key lever is the cost. What is your impact on your margins? And that's the reason why organizations exist. And the third critical reason is, how do you make sure that the business model is not only scalable, but it's all protected and de-risked? Now let's look at AI. Now if you look at AI, AI has been here for some time now. But in the last 10 years, there has been a rapid change. And I divide it into 3 waves. The first wave, which I call it as more like an AI/ML based wave, where simple tasks were getting more automated and you were leveraging AI and ML to bring in more efficiencies into the system, which was basically impacting your second lever, which was the cost lever, and little bit on the risk side. If you look at the second wave, and the second wave I will call it as a Gen AI wave, which we saw suddenly everybody was accessing AI and able to know people in the nooks and corners of the world. And that's what actually bring in a little bit of a component of identifying new revenue models as well as identifying better cost efficiencies and de-risking the system. And then comes the tsunami. And you have agentic AI all over, and we have seen that people talking about it everywhere. And the whole idea behind this is, how do you bring in new revenue models, new business opportunities, and some of the examples that we saw yesterday, wherein we were leveraging the agentic AI concept in order to drive better business, better customer satisfaction, and rechanging the entire revenue model. And that's where AI and business come together.
Sounds like a match made in heaven there. Here we are at Google Cloud, and important to talk about the cloud. What is the role of the cloud, all the clouds, the hybrid clouds, I guess, in this case, when it comes to developing these solutions? Lots of, I would say, healthy tension and dialogue about on-prem versus cloud, well, and the edge at this point, as we have this conversation. Stephen, I'm going to throw this to you.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that as we go forward, the cloud's only just going to become more and more important, right? We've seen this phenomenal transformation over the years. And of course, AI is a huge consumer of data, and that data's got to be good quality data. And so, as we think more about agents, as we think more about AI, a point that Gaurav made before, something that I think is really exciting, not linked to cloud so much, but just to link to how it changes all of our roles. It's going to create so many more phenomenal roles for people as we go forward. Roles that previously would have been more data input, transactional type roles, they're going to go to overseeing some of these agents, approving what agents are doing. So it's going to allow for some phenomenal opportunities as we go forward. But the clouds play such a large role. The amount of compute they're able to transform, the amount of data they're able to process, it really is game-changing for organizations as we go forward. And the new technologies that's being brought forward with the new chips to enable more power and more processing, very, very exciting. So
talk about the relationship that you guys are working together on. You guys are partnering. And as Google rolls out the news, you saw all the news on the performance of the infrastructure, I love that. There's a lot of change happening. What are you guys working on? Talk about the relationship between Infosys and Collibra. What's happening?
Yeah, I'll provide some context on some phenomenal customers that we've got joined together. Infosys often speak about people, process, and technology. That's the biggest challenge that we see in our space. The technology piece is relatively simple, but the people and the process can be really, really complex. And so, a great financial services organization in EMEA, I can't mention their name, I'm afraid, but they've got 900 data silos across their organization, and they want to become a digital-first organization. Their biggest challenge is, it's easy to manage the data side of it, all right? We can help them with that, but how do we help all of their organizations become digital first and think about making digital-driven decisions that will help that financial services organization really step into the next wave of what's coming? We work phenomenally close with this organization to really, we're helping them with the technology side, Infosys are really helping with that people process and the technology side, and it's really taken a leap step forward with this financial services organization.
You mentioned the financial services organization because, first of all, they're real early adopter for all the GPUs, so we love them, life science as well, and other verticals. But data silos, we've been covering that on theCUBE for 15 years. I mean, Dave Valente's favorite topic, stovepipes he calls them. But now with AI, domain-specific data is huge for agents. And you're starting to see that relationship where mix of experts is happening. So so silos can be abstracted and learned. I mean, so agents have a kind of double-edged sword advantage there. Can you guys talk about why that works and how you guys view that?
Well, I think the important there is silos can be a positive, but they can be a negative. If we think about the human element of the silos, how do I know what data I have? How do I know where the data lives? If I want to start building models, I've got to understand all of these silos to how do I ensure the correct data is being placed into the models in the first place? Now, of course, having silos can then help ensure that we segregate pieces of data. We don't want PII or sensitive data getting into models, but that then really comes down to the data engineering element of it. And so at Collibra, we've introduced Collibra AI Governance, which is how we help de-risk that element of AI. So we work with organizations to catalog and organize their AI applications. We work with the legal teams, we work with the data teams to really understand and be able to pull the data in from the Vertex models and be able to understand, hey, this model is linked to this data, and therefore we have less risk in actually running this model inside the organization.
You bring up governance because like the governance side is built in. And the theme I've heard here, and I've never heard it this much amplified, but native AI. We've always say native AI apps, but Google talks about native AI because they're applying AI to things like BigQuery, for instance. That's like a killer move, right? Because now they're applying to their domain-specific product and then offering it out as a service. So what you're kind of getting at is there's work that's been done. So share where we are on this. It's not doom and gloom. It's actually an opportunity. It's much further along in the management of PII and some of these guardrails.
Yeah. So I think what we keep on talking about, and Stefan and I were discussing, that not everything that glitters is gold. You have a lot of issues around AI, and people are still looking at it from a skeptical perspective. Now, what is that is required in order to develop something which is not only scalable, but something which is protected? So the way actually we define it is we look at it from a two-dimension perspective. The first dimension is more around what is getting into the input. So you have data which is getting into the model, which is your execution body, and then you have output which is getting consumed. So when you look at data and AI governance and what Collibra and we are doing together, we are addressing it from the end-to-end perspective. So you are not only governing your data, you are making sure that the model that you have in place, they are explainable. They are no longer black box because you have a lot of issues associated with that in case if there are output, and we have seen n number of examples. And then consumption. How do you make sure that the consumption is right? So that's the one dimension. Now the second dimension is how do you broad base this, and you spoke about privacy. Definitely privacy is a very, very important concept, and that is something very critical. At the same time, if you look at it, there is no single regulation today or compliance today which actually manages AI initiatives across the world, and there is a need for it. While there are things which are happening in the pocket, but these are still at a conceptual state. So how do you actually define your framework which has a component of privacy built into it? Then you have trust and ethics issues, which we have already seen n number of times. Ethics, and you have a younger generation coming in, and they're just wiping it out. How do you make sure that the right content is being push to them which is actually in the norms and the principles of the society. And when you overlay this entire thing with people, process, and technology, you come up with a framework, and that is what is required to be successful in a way we are actually going to scale AI and make sure that everybody who is coming in understand what are the implications and do it in a right way.
You mentioned some great strategies for how to de-risk this. You've got some fun examples in here of what happens when things go wrong. Can you give us, can you tell us about those, Gaurav?
Yes, absolutely. So as I was talking about some of the key so-called whatever glitters is gold. So some of the key issues that we are seeing, if you look at it from the perspective of biases, so there are outputs which are getting generated and we clearly know that there are biases. A simple example is, and that is something which has been proven multiple times. If you have to imagine somebody as a doctor, what is the first image that will come into your mind? Somebody who will be wearing a white apron, somebody who will have specs, somebody who looks old, and believe me, somebody who is a male. And if you look at the facts, it's actually opposite. And this is very critical aspect that you need to be trusting the output.
Right.
Second is ethical. Are we looking at governing from an ethics perspective? Whatever we are doing, is it right for the larger community at large? So we have a challenges around that. Then you look at the way information is getting used. No checks and balances, or very less number of checks and balances on IPs. There are artist work which are getting used to create images, and we know it all. Then you have issues related to the most important part, and that is security. Now what we are imagining is once the agentic AI comes in, the time is not far ahead when we will have our own avatars. Just imagine if somebody hacks it and somebody take control of their avatar. Just imagine what they can do with it. So your systems need to be secure, and you need to be 2 steps ahead of what the bad creatures in the market are thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you decide what to prioritize? You're helping customers do a lot of different things. How do you decide what to prioritize? You know, I know there's agents and agentic is so popular right now, a lot of hype around that, but you know, it's not just the shiny new thing, it's about really delivering solutions collaboratively together that help people achieve their goals, whatever those might be. So how do you decide? How do you decide what's best to advise people on?
So again, different organizations have a different journey. And all of these journeys are being managed through the kind of vision and objectives that they have. So one of the critical things that we are talking to organizations about is get your priorities right. So what are the key things that you want to focus on? There has been a lot of discussions which are around priorities. There are a lot of discussions which are around what are the kind of capabilities that the organizations have. So what we keep on telling them is get your data right. And right now we are talking about not only the structured data, but a lot of unstructured data coming in. So build a platform wherein you can actually provide your data at one single location, and that is something that you can trust on. Then the second important element is put all the right processes in place. And those are the work that you would need to do. And then the third part is the controls. So you need to have all the right controls and governance mechanism, your policy is defined and need to be. And then the last part is you need to get your solution right. And that is where we have partners like Collibra who has got an amazing technology and which actually you can bring in and see as to how does it fit in your overall enterprise architecture in order to make things work.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Collibra being such a leader in governance, I can imagine you've been very popular the last couple of years.
We have.
Yeah.
We have indeed.
Have you noticed quite a bit of growth as a result of the AI hype curve we're living in?
Absolutely. And to the point that Gaurav just made, you know, it all starts with the data, right? And we've got to understand the data that we have in the organizations, how that data moves throughout the organizations, how we ensure the quality of that data, because as we're building models, we need to be able to know that the quality of the data that's going in the models is very high quality. We put bad data in, we're getting really bad models out, just to some of the examples before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, we're seeing more and more organizations that are coming to us. Had a conversation with a customer here just yesterday, or a prospect here, that are desperate to start to roll this out. They have huge data across their organizations. They know they've got so much data. They don't know where it all exists. They don't know where it all lives. They don't know the quality of it. They don't know what they can and cannot use to place into their models. We see this over and time again. Now, to the point about how do you prioritize, we're working with some phenomenal customers that are doing supply chain management in the food industry. And they're using AI models to understand what is the quality of the material that's going into the food, into the process that they can then put into their end products that we then all buy, right? And so part of that is the AI use cases and applications. Now, to your point before, their value of AI is all around how do we increase the quality of our food, how do we streamline our supply chain management, and how do we also de-risk the AI models that we want to use in the organization to make all of that better for them as an organization, to increase their profits, to reduce their risk. And so there are more and more organizations like this every day that we're speaking to that are coming to us saying, we know we have challenges, help us understand where we start so that we can deliver these great outcomes.
I love that end-to-end workflow because that's the consistent theme of all the AI success. And then I'm going to go back to this domain expertise because that's usually on premise sometimes. But cloud is where the action is. So the question is, how is the cloud growth, say Google Cloud, we're here at their event, they're very open. We love interoperable multi-cloud, or multi-hybrid cloud basically means on-premises or data center, like an Equinix or whatnot. So okay, how do I use the cloud today? What's the best path? What's the best scenarios today that gives me headroom to one, get more end-to-end workflows, get into the models, make sure they're secure, trusted, ethical.
Yep.
Because that seems to be the top question. Like, okay, great. Where do I go? Like, do I process on the cloud and I do inference at the edge? Or both? Everything's different by company, but is there a general cloud model that you guys are seeing?
I mean, so we're helping organizations that really have a hybrid strategy, right? They've typically got multiple clouds, they've got multiple data across multiple clouds, and there are some things that they need to run on particular clouds for particular reasons. That causes them a multitude of challenges. But of course, we are here at Google Cloud. We are heavily invested as an organization in Google Cloud. We take phenomenal advantage of Vertex, and so as an organization, we see that benefit by bringing our data into Google, by managing things inside Google. We're able to provide AI services out to our customers because we've placed our platform on Google Cloud. And so again, as we speak to customers and prospects.
So it's a growth opportunity
It's a growth opportunity, and as you leverage those cloud services more, you can leverage the cloud native services that then enable you to take advantage of the solutions way quicker than you could have done years ago when you're a legacy on-prem platform. And so tapping into some of these applications and services, trialing them and testing them, because we really are in this phase at the moment where it's trial and test and understand what we can do, what we can't do, what we want to let loose into production, what we want to play with in test for a while. And so as more customers, and I did a chat here with McDonald's a couple of days ago, phenomenal leader John Tucker in McDonald's, who is AI first, transforming the way that McDonald's are taking advantage of AI inside a retail business, right? Yeah. But very strange to think about the way that they are using AI to propel their business forward.
What's their driver? What's their high motivation besides the output of efficiency on the business side? What's the driver technically?
So let me complement with what Stefan is talking about. See, while every organization context is very different, but let's look at what are the key advantage that actually cloud provides you with. And then organization can take their own stand in terms of where do they want to go. So the first and the key advantage that I believe is that you're creating immense amount of data, structured, unstructured. So it gives you that potential to store that volume of data. Yep. Second is all of us want to things be done in millisecond, then microsecond, and now nanosecond. We don't have patience. So you need...
and it just keeps getting less and less.
Lesser and lesser. Yeah. So you need immense processing power, and cloud actually provides you with that. The third important element I believe is it actually gives you an ability to build your platform and scale it quickly. We spoke about Google Garden, and we are talking about 100 plus curated models. Now all of these models are available to you if you are actually there on the cloud. And my best example, or I would say the use case is, with cloud, you can actually achieve what the vision for all of us here is, to democratize AI and bring AI to everybody in their hand. And you can reach to the any corner of the world, be it in Africa or be it in the Amazon forest, provided it's connected. So that's the kind of opportunity that cloud provides, and that's the thing that we believe organizations should leverage in order to leap into the next phase.
I think you're spot on there. I'm not surprised you both agree and are collaborating on this. Final question for you, brilliant gentlemen. When we're hanging out at Google Cloud Next in 2026, so 12 months from now, what do you hope to be able to say then that you can't yet say today? Stephen, I'm going to start with you since you're in the hot seat next to me.
That is an interesting question. I would like to sit here in 12 months' time and talk about the phenomenal use cases that we're seeing with our customers deploying agentic AI. How agentic AI has changed their organization, how it's streamlined processes for them, how we've got to a point where people are using it at pace and excitement in production, and it's making real business improvements for them. Because I think we have that opportunity to see that this year. We've seen how generative AI has increased so quickly and how we've moved to agentic AI. I would love to sit here next year and have some great use cases and stories where we can tell you we've helped customers deliver that, manage it, and govern it successfully and securely.
Awesome.
You look forward to hosting
we
those
definitely can't wait to see those.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening.
Yeah.
All right, Gaurav.
So my view is that we're still talking about AI as POCs and MVPs. I would like to see AI going to the enterprise level and organization talking about enterprise AI more often, that they have been able to do that and they have been successful. The second important thing is they should be able to get the return on investment that they are making. Be it technology, be it people, be it time, be it processes, all the investment, they should be able to say that this is the kind of return that we have generated and it's all aligned. And the most important part, and if you ask me, this is my cause for the sleepless night as well. So AI is growing like this, and governance is like this, and this gap is just going up and up and up. And there is a very famous saying that we are building for the AI of 24th century with governance of 20th century.
Oh, I hadn't heard that yet.
And we don't want to see in a place where you have a lot of issues, speculations, concerns around AI. We would want AI to be used by everybody in everybody's hand, and it should be omnipresent.
Awesome.
Love that. Well, we cannot wait to follow up with you in 12 months and to tell those stories and surface that. Thank you both so much for taking the time during a busy week.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, our pleasure. And thank you, John. And thank all of you for tuning in wherever you might be today. We're here in Las Vegas, Nevada, day 3 of Google Cloud Next. My name's Savannah Peterson. You're watching theCUBE, the leading source for enterprise tech news.